You can't have a fitness company and not work out. I guess you could, but I don't think it's a good idea. That's not how you do it. Right? So you
Right.
have to
It's a
work
little
out.
difficult for men versus women. I'll say that.
Right? It's like, hey man, you kind of got to be in shape, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm actually coming back from a car accident I had 2 years ago. I rolled over 5 times, so I'm trying to build back up, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm doing that, and so when I wake up, I usually get about 7 hours of sleep during my work week. 7 hours of sleep. I got to get up. I got an hour when I wake up to do any paperwork, check emails, whatever, talk to my daughter, interact with my wife, and then I have an hour to work out, and then I got to get on the road and go.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. So I have to try to cram being a dad into an hour, 3 days, 3 to 4 days a week, and
Yeah.
then I try to make up for it when I'm
Yeah.
off. So normally, so like I told you, we do this interview early in the morning because in the afternoon we're gonna go do family stuff. We're gonna do our
Right.
thing. You know, it's just a balance in that, man. And like I said, my wife and I have
Yeah.
been together over 20 years, so we've balanced things out. There are times when she has to work late. She works from home, so she has to work late or whatever. Boom, and we always just say, hey, like Wonder Twins is why there's two of us. I got it. You go do your thing, right? But it makes the moments. You gotta say, okay, it makes the moments precious. You
Yeah.
know.
Top of it, it's your boy Ant Mo coming live and direct from the studio of A Mind of a Man podcast. And I'm here to tell you about a proud sponsor, Miss Artesia Swindle. She is the DFW Realtor extraordinaire, and she's here to service all your needs in the housing market from A to Z. Now, let me tell you a few things about her before you go hit the website up, as we need you to do immediately. Number one, she's professional. All right. She doesn't play around about her business. She's serious. That's what you want. Number two, she's knowledgeable. Okay. From Oak Cliff to Roanoke, she can get you everything that you need in the DFW and beyond, in Texas even, to get you where you're trying to go. Number three, she consistent. She don't play around. Go check her page. She do stuff every day. Even though we want you to go to the website, you can check out the page as well to know that she is on her game. Now, there's a criteria that we need you to understand that you must hit. Now, she's down to service a lot of people, but there are some people that get first in line now if they do what they're supposed to do. Number one, she's looking for people who are first-time home buyers, not the ones that had 2-3 houses in their mama name. No, we're not looking for that. We're looking for the people who are saying they want to go through the process with her for the first time. Number two, she's looking for people who are already paying $1,500 or more in rent. That's all of us. That's a lot of us. That's most of us. So you know what to do. I'm going to tell you about that website in just a second. The third thing is she's looking for people who are ready to transition into ownership immediately. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today. You understand what I'm saying? So if you fit that bill, do me a favor. Go to knowartesia.com. KNOWARTESIA.com. Once again, for the people in the back, knowartesia.com. KNOWARTESIA.com. And the link will be below. And in whatever video that you're watching this on, tell her that Anthony Moore sent you from the Mind of a Man podcast. She gonna know who I am, but just do it because it's gonna be cool. All right, back to the episode. Peace.
Top of it, everybody. It's your host, Anthony Moore, and welcome to Cultivating Konversations, where we curate cultivating conversations for the culture. And I'd also like to say this is a place where we bridge the gap between personal and professional. So we have a special guest today, a guy who we have a love-hate relationship in some ways, because he's a Washington Commanders fan, but he's also a
Right.
Georgia Bulldog fan. He don't
Right.
know, oh Lord, he don't know what he want to be, but we love him. But we love him the same, man. I want to introduce to some and promote to all Mr. John Greaves III. Welcome to Cultivating Conversations, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. See,
For
and
sure, for
you
sure. It
told
was funny.
me we weren't going to talk about, we weren't going to chirp about the NFL at all, and you started it. So if it happens,
Now
everybody's
we're
going
not
to
gonna get into our
start
normal banter,
okay,
but
okay.
I do want to let the people know that they're dealing with a fraud. Okay, I do have to let them know
What's fraudulent?
that.
What is fraudulent about liking one professional team and liking a college team from a different state? Because that has to do with my background. I grew up in Maryland in the DMV, and now I
hmm
live in Georgia. So my college team is Georgia, even though I'm
Yeah.
not technically from here. My college team is Georgia, and my professional team, people who get paid and who have mastered their craft, is in Washington, and that's where we go. In fact, my XFL team is the DC Defenders, you know, and so I'm ready to watch us win the championship this afternoon after this is over. There
So
is no conflict.
sidebar on that. I met the defensive coordinator for the opponent at the Cigar Lounge last couple nights ago. So we're
Okay,
actually gonna have him on first string. So
okay,
it's
nice,
gonna be that's gonna be cool.
good, good.
Now the funny
You'll
thing
need a
is he
shoulder to cry
never.
on by the time y'all
Oh
have a
nah,
conversation.
listen, man. I heard they come through wrecking shop, but that ain't got nothing to do with me, man. I don't
Okay.
got a dog in the fight. But anyway, man. Once again, man. Welcome, John, to Cultivating Conversations, man. This is really our dynamic, and I can say whatever I want to say, but it's gonna come down to what it come down to,
That's
man.
right. That's
But
right.
so I wanted to have John on for sure because he kind of brought up some interesting dynamics of being a content creator and being a father and how all of it meshes together. So that will be some of the things, and I titled it "The Balance of It All" because it is a great balancing act in life and being a husband, being a father, whatever your title may be. Being a boss, being a supervisor at your job, whatever it may be, there's always a balancing act to it that sometimes it's easy to do, sometimes it's not. But that will be what we get into a little later on. But right now, there's a thing that I call Fun Facts Jack, and it's
Mhm.
5 questions where we get a little insight,
Right.
just some little lighthearted things. Sometimes it may not be as lighthearted, but this is what we determine if you weird or not.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
so let me start this off with number
Just so
one.
y'all know, he doesn't tell you ahead of time that he's going to do this.
No,
He just
why
does
would
it to
I?
you. So
Why
I'm
why
completely in
would I?
control. This is going to be
So
authentic,
so
100%. Top of my head. Go ahead.
I love it. That's the way it's got to be.
Okay.
So, no, first fun fact: what is your favorite ice cream?
Chocolate.
Chocolate?
Yep.
Have you ever? I would just let that slide. Like that's like screaming Jeffrey Dahmer. But I,
How just mental was that, right? He asked me what my favorite is. Then he judged it according to what his favorite is and what other people told him their favorites are. But you know what? I don't follow the crowd. I follow what I like. That's what leadership is.
right, just like Jeffrey. All right. So moving on to number two: most embarrassing moment ever, ever.
uh, okay, so I I think it was like the most recent one. All right, I would say I decided to get into a bench press for reps competition with a guy back in like 2015 or 16, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew him through. So I'm a member of the Animal Barbell Club. It's something
Mm-hmm.
that Universal Nutrition had. I was actually the Georgia coordinator. It's basically a bunch of people get together to lift weights, and
Mm-hmm.
that's our thing. Well, then once a year, we all got together at this thing called the National ABC at the Arnold Classic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Animal had a cage, and you could get in there and do your thing, right? And so this dude threw around a gauntlet, said, "Hey, 25-pound bench press for reps against anybody in here." I'm like, "Well, I ain't scared of much." So I said, "Okay, let's do it," right? I don't know anything
Yeah.
about this dude, but I just know I can bench 225, whatever. And I didn't even really train for it specifically, right? At the time, I think my max bench was like 365. I was like, 225, whatever. So we get to the thing. I get in position. I'm getting nervous because they come to me and say, "Hey, so yeah, y'all are gonna go first." And if anybody knows about the animal cage, there's a lot of like you just Google animal cage and there's some like impressive feats, right? I'm like, "Well, we going?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we starting? Oh, so I don't get okay." So we get
Right.
out
No
there and they
warm
say,
up.
"Yeah, yeah," and they're like, "Yeah, so you go ahead and start, Josh." So I'm first. Hold on now. I'm like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
expecting to see him go and then kind of gauge what I had to do off of him. So I jump in there and man, I promise you, my man showed up and I was already nervous because he looked like he was ready for the day. And I said,
He looked
"Oh,
like an animal.
yeah." I said, "Oh." So I think I maybe got 13 reps with 225. My back spasmed and everything. And I said, "Okay, man." But I was like, 13 reps, whatever. Put it
Not
up.
bad.
I got the
Not
fist
chopped
blow up.
liver.
I kept my back. Yeah, man, walk around, lats spread out excessively for no reason. My man got down there and I think he did it like with his feet up on the bench.
Oh,
And
he's one of those.
yeah, which is already aggressive. And then he did, I think, like 35. reps, and like he got there, like he was just like going like he
You're right.
looked bored. I think he
They
fell
at the
asleep
park.
halfway, right? Just going, right? I was like, come on, man. Then he paused, put it on his chest, put it up one more time, looked around, and then said, okay, I guess that's it. And then put it up. I'm just like, really? Really, man? That's what
Wow.
we had to do. So I was emotionally a little bit,
Look, you were
yeah.
scarred.
Yeah. Just,
You
all
went to the gym the next day with like fire in your belly.
right.
Like, I got
I'm
something for
like,
that
man.
dude.
And look, I'll tell you, the animal cage is popular. So there's
Yeah.
people like watching this whole thing around. It's literally they put up a cage like one of those old chain link basketball courts, and
Mm-hmm.
they've set that up, and then people can't get in. So they're just like outside it, looking like a scene from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome or whatever.
Right.
And so they crowded. Look, so there are people watching this happen, and I'm just like, this dude. It looks like this dude could take my lunch money if he wanted, right? I
Right.
was like, for real, like, this is
Yeah.
horrible.
You had a Ray J moment where he's like,
Like,
you can't break those. Yeah, I'll break them. And he breaks them. He's like, I don't care.
yeah, I,
Listen, man, don't feel bad. I let me let you in on a little secret. That's the sauce of HGH. Okay,
okay,
that's what
okay.
that's
Is that what
called.
it is? Okay.
Human growth hormone. These guys are not there natural. Like
Man,
it's
I
just
was
not
like,
happening, man. Most men, with the exceptions of we talk about the star athletes that are like going to the combine and doing that stuff. That's not normal. Most guys aren't doing that. So
oh
I
no,
wouldn't
yeah.
feel
When
too
you
bad
see this
about
dude,
it.
I was just like, this ain't good,
Wait, hold on. So for optics sake, what is your height and weight, and what do you think his height and weight was?
Okay, so at the time, I was 5'9", and at the time I was probably 198,
Also, you
something like
was
that.
you was you was lean, mean, full of
Yeah,
gasoline. Okay,
yeah. I was like, I'm feeling good
yeah,
because I was like, and then he was like 5'7", about 215.
I was not expecting that one.
Yeah.
So
So like he's
he's.
built. So his name is Christian. He's a good dude, Christian Coronado. He actually has a thing. Shout out Coronado's Lean Cuisine, and
I was gonna say
he
I'm
does like
familiar.
meal delivery and stuff like that with him. But he's actually a sponsored athlete with Universal Nutrition, and so I was just like, whatever. But again, I'm a competitive dude. So when he put the gauntlet, he didn't even name me specifically, but he put it down, and I saw it. I'm like, oh, are you talking? Okay, whatever. I ain't scared of nothing.
Right.
And I'm like, they all scared, but I ain't scared. I'm like, let's go, right? Because nobody else was willing to go. Right? I said, man, let's go. And so I get there, and to be honest with you, I would do it again. I would train for it, but I would do it again. And it was like really a good, like you said, it put the fire in the belly because those are the sorts of things that kind of give you like a measuring stick in your head, like, hey, you should be able to do this. And so
Yes.
for me, it was like, like from now on, 20 reps is the minimum you can allow yourself to be able to do on 225
Mm-hmm.
on the bench press, right? Even if that's not your main goal. And so that's just like a training goal. Just like, I know you didn't ask me this, but I'll say, and a moment that was at the time the most embarrassing was also related to the bench press because the way I got into lifting weights was I was in college and my girlfriend at the time was summer vacation. My girlfriend at the time was like, hey, let's go to the gym. We had just started dating. I'm like, all right, let's go. So we go to the gym. I didn't work out at all. Okay. I was
This is
135
sounding
pounds.
bad.
I didn't work out at all. All right. I was just handsome. I said, man, whatever. So I don't
You
need to
said
work
what?
out.
Hold on. You said you what?
I'm just handsome. I said, I don't need to work out. I'm handsome. What do I need all that for?
Here he goes.
So we get to the dang gym, right? And I knew she was in shape, but my brain didn't mentally connect. Oh, she runs track where she lifts weights. So we go to start working out, right? And we pyramid up like you do. So we end up at 135. And I think she did it. She benched 135 twice. Keep in mind, I don't work out. But I said,
Oh no.
however, I got something on my side that you don't have. I'm a man. Let's go. So I lay down.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave.
I lay down, man. I'll tell you, I unracked the weight, and that plummeted to my chest and stayed there. And the worst part isn't that she could do something I couldn't do, is that she had to lift it off me.
Oh
So she
no.
lifted it. If she hadn't lifted it off me, I would still be there today. She lifted it
Pobrecita.
off me, and then to rub salt in the wound, kind of did like to rub your back. Oh, good try.
Oh
You know,
no.
it's
I
okay.
knew this
You
was
know,
gonna be bad.
she was like, yeah.
Don't rub
She's
my
like, hey, that was
back.
a good try. She's like, hey, that was good, man. That was the last day that I worked out with her, and it's also the
You
last day that I
say
didn't
you'll
work
get two
out.
times. You don't get no
No,
double back,
no,
baby.
yeah, you won once. That's it. It's like, yeah, but then I started working out, so I didn't know what I was doing. That's the other thing. I didn't know what I was doing. So I started going to the school gym, and I would just go in there and see what other people are doing. Okay, like that,
Yeah.
like that, like basically
Yeah.
just doing
Yeah.
that. And I started asking questions, and that was 1993. That's really what started me working out. So even if it's an embarrassing moment,
Yes.
I use those things. I don't like they don't cripple me because I just like, all right, well, we'll go forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing I take from that is every man and woman too, you know what I'm saying? I'm not excluding the women, but every man should know where he's at. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So if it takes you to go and say, "Are you talking to me?" Oh, I get under the bench, and then you get the 13, and you're like, "Okay, cool." And he do 35, then it's like,
hmm,
so that's where I'm at.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? You go to the gym with your girl and you said, listen, I ain't got much of it, but I'm very handsome. That ain't gonna lift no
yeah.
weights for you. You see what I'm saying? So those are the lessons of life,
Yeah,
folks. You know
don't
what I'm
expect
saying?
help with the
Like,
groceries because that's not what I do.
yeah, man. All
Yeah.
right. So since we are talking about working out and you know that lifestyle, what is your favorite exercise?
Oh, man, that's hard because for me, it's the thing that I'm currently focused on the most, and the thing I
Mm,
have the goals in. Like, okay, I want to get to this. Like, I'm results driven. So for me, it's my favorite exercise is the thing I want to improve the most. So I would say like right now, my top favorite exercise is probably the deadlift because I'm trying to get to 600 pounds,
yeah.
and so it's the thing that I love the most. But at other times, it's been the bench press because I'm trying to get to I want to hit 405. The
Mm-hmm.
squat because I want to hit 500. There's a movement called the bench press where you literally you twist your body and you bend over while lifting a weight, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it freaks people out. And I've got a goal for what I want to. So I'd like to hit 185 in that by next year. Yeah, my current max in that is 155. So I want to get to 185 by next year. So that's my hierarchy. But right now, the deadlift is the one that's like kind of like, man, like you said, like I have to get this. This is where I should be, and so I want to
Yeah.
get to the 600. So deadlift is the one that's got my love and attention.
It's as interesting because I've had this conversation with one of my buddies, and he's like, all of it sucks. He's like, I don't have a favorite anything. All of it sucks, bro. It's like it all hurts, you know. And I get that, but I'm like, no, I love squatting.
Yeah.
I love like leg days are by far the worst, but I get the most fulfillment out of leg days in general, but squatting for sure. And with deadlift, I can never hit the 500 mark.
Okay.
And it's a mental thing because
Right.
I know I can lift it, but it's something about those 5 plates that
Mm.
just take me. It's like it just I can't do it,
Right.
and so I'm like, I don't know. Like I love deadlift, but it would be discouraging to get to the deadlift, and then I'm rolling through it, man. And then we get to the 5 plates, and everybody hype, and then I get under there, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna be able to do this, and I don't do it. And so that's just interesting, man. But you know,
Can
we'll
you
talk. Look,
deadlift?
we'll
Can you
talk
deadlift
offline about that.
475? Can you deadlift 475?
Yes.
Okay. So this is quick. So go get the next time you deadlift. Go get. Don't go to 500. Instead, get one of those bumper plates. That's a 25-pound bumper plate. That's the same
Mm-hmm.
size as the 45. Stick that on there, and now you got the same number of plates. And mentally, you're doing the same number of plates. And so after you've done that for a while, the next time you go to 500, the number of plates won't freak you out.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So now give me your worst exercise. Something you just hate to do. It may be necessary, but you just hate it.
There's this thing that my mobility coach has me do. It's It's basically it's called it's like an IT band floss, and you
Mm-hmm.
lay down on your back and you're doing this thing, and it kind of looks like like those like sometimes you see in a movie like the woman will she's around the corner and she like kind of flexes her leg out and comes back or whatever. So you lay down your
Mm-hmm.
back and you do that, and the idea is that you're getting blood flow to your knees. I got a bad knee, um, and I just feel like my life is slipping away while I'm doing that because I'm like, why am I doing this? Because it's not the sort of thing where so like emotionally if I do a hub lift, right? So if I, and that's you grab a 45-pound plate by the center part, you pick it up. When I do
Mm-hmm.
that, whether I can feel the effect of boom, I just did that. If I bench, I can boom, I just did that. With this thing, it ain't even as rewarding as doing curls because you don't get a pump. You don't like. I just feel like I just did this
Yeah.
thing. I feel like I brushed my teeth. Right? It's important,
Right.
but it's
It's
not like I get like an
necessary, but
emotional satisfaction out
yeah.
of doing it. You know what I mean? I'm like man, it's on here again. God,
Yeah.
I hate it.
Okay. Okay. Last question. What is your greatest accomplishment in life?
I am. It's funny to say I'm proud of this because this is not something. Well, I guess like most accomplishments, it's not something you did by yourself. But
Mm.
I'm very proud of the fact that my wife and I, since the day I met my wife over 20 years ago, I've been with nobody else. Our marriage has
Mm.
lasted. We're headed for our 20-year anniversary next year, but we've been together about 23 years. And since the day I asked her for my number, since the day I asked her for her number, she and I have been with each other, right?
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true because since I met her, no, since I met her, she's been the one. I was like, that's her, right?
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
She had on our first, so the day of our first date, she told me after our first date that she actually had two other dates lined up.
Oh,
So
okay.
she was supposed to be going out with because we were going to go hiking, right? We were supposed to go hiking
Uh-huh.
that morning, and because we both like doing that stuff. And then because it's first thing in the morning, two other guys asked her out. So she said, okay, so I guess she gave herself some buffer time. Like, yeah, so we do this in the afternoon, and then another
Mm-hmm.
dude, we go out to dinner, right? And we went out hiking, and actually we met up the night before and went to a steak and shake. So that technically was
Mm.
the first date, but that wasn't the first planned date. So we did steak and shake the night before. The next morning we go hiking, and she canceled the other dates, and it's been me
Okay,
ever
player,
since.
player.
Man, I'm
Okay,
telling
Judge.
you.
Talk that talk. You
Carpe
got out there on
diem,
that
my
hawk
man.
and got to tell her. Y'all start hiking and you start telling her about your life, and she was like, you know what? I like this guy.
I'm telling you, man. She was like, it's funny because she had expectations of me because, as you can see, I'm black. And where she was, so where she was, a lot of the guys who come approach her who were black didn't really approach her. She said like in a respectful, educated, like
Respectable manner, yeah.
yeah. And so she had like this preconceived notion, right? So then when she met me, I mean, my wife is very good looking, but I think I'm very good looking too. So when I met her, I wasn't intimidated. So she liked
Yeah.
the confidence. She was like, okay, I wasn't like, oh,
Absolutely.
whatever. I mean, yeah, I'm like, yeah, you're good looking, but I'm not just harping on and on like, oh, this and
Yeah.
that. I'm able to tell her things I like about her, and this is from the jump that I liked about her that went beyond just her physical appearance. She loved the fact that I
Mm-hmm.
like to read. She loved the fact that we're talking about goals and things like that. She's like, oh, this, when we had our first phone conversation, the sun came up on us. We started talking at like 7 p.m. The
Wow.
sun
Yeah,
came up
yeah.
on us,
That's that
right?
old school love right
I'm
there.
telling you, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So for those of you who don't know, you can actually talk on the phone. Just text. So we're actually on the phone, man. And we got to the point the sun came up, and we were doing that. John from high school. You sleep? No, you?
Yeah.
No. We should hang up.
Yeah.
Okay, you go ahead. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like no. You go
That
ahead. You
yeah,
still
man.
there?
Worth lose that's that worth losing sleep. You know you gonna be hurting in the morning. You gotta
Oh
go to
yeah, but
school,
it don't
work, but
matter,
you like, hey, I gotta
man.
get this in.
Man, this the one. I got it. Hey, and the work paid
Yeah,
off. I
man.
told you she canceled the other dates.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Most guys don't have that depth to them, man. Most men, because we're very visual, that, like you said, you didn't harp on, oh, you're so beautiful, you're so beautiful, because it's like they hear that all the time. So that stuff is like, okay, well, what else is to you? You know what I'm saying? If she's
Right.
a woman of substance, because some will
Yeah.
feed into that. So I dig it. I dig it. All right, look, that was the thing that I'm starting to realize is as I continue with this, is the fun facts Jack kind of gets spread out because it's not. I try to cater the questions to the person. I never just give everybody the same 5 questions. So that this is cool as it develops, man. But so now I want to say, tell me about the inception of John Greaves III. Tell me about where you come from, how this all started. The man, not the business, because we're gonna get to the business. You know what I'm saying?
So when two people love each other very much, they get together.
Oh no, you
You
don't.
said the beginning.
Don't you dare come over here doing that. He
You said
said
the beginning.
it's a little it's an embryo. It's called a sperm, and then with this there's
Okay.
ovaries, and then there's fallopian tubes. Don't you
Man,
dare
how far
do
back are we
this.
going? Okay,
This is where
so
we be. This is why we be beefing, man.
all right, so I'll tell you like this. All right, so this is a fun fact that people don't know about me. All right,
hmm
you people wouldn't even know to ask. So I'm from West Africa. I was born in Liberia, and
Wow. Okay.
I was a Liberian citizen until I became an American citizen. Okay, so my parents were not in the military. They were from West Africa. They were Liberian citizens. Okay, their parents, my mom's dad immigrated to Liberia from Nigeria, but um, I'm sorry, from Freetown. But um, her mom, my grandmother, was Liberian. Okay, so if you go like you can go back 3, 4 generations, and my family are Liberians, right?
hmm
However, because of a really awesome set of love stories, I am part Native American, part Irish, and part African, part black. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. On my mother's side, Liberia was founded by freed slaves, freed American slaves. And on my mother's side, one of those freed slaves had married a Native American woman. And because of the climate at the time, this is the early 1800s, they wanted their children to grow up somewhere where they would not be second class citizens. Because if they even went to the Native American reservation, if they were hung out with her tribe, the kids were still other.
hmm
And obviously, if they went anywhere else, then, the kids are definitely other. And even back then, I mean, life for, and well, not even back then, but today, life for a lot of Native Americans is not the best. So they said,
Right.
we want our kids to grow up. They had daughters. We want our daughters to grow up where they can be first class citizens, or at least just treated like human beings. They heard about Liberia, they get on the ship and they go to Liberia. All right. Tragically, now the Native American woman passed away. She got a fever. She passed away on during the voyage, but they already had kids. So those kids end up, through the process of time, my grandmother, then my mother, and then me. All right. So that's
hmm
how we got the Native American side. And we've actually reconnected with the tribe over here. Okay. My aunt has done a lot of work to reconnect us with the tribe. All right.
Wow.
Then on my father's side, because of the potato famine, my Irish ancestors moved to the Caribbean. And they're there, and my, I said, I guess great grandfather fell in love with a former slave, which is which was fine, but he
hmm
wanted to marry her, which is not as okay because they're like, you're gonna upset is having her as a mistress on the side, okay, but you're gonna upset the entire social fabric if you marry this woman because now we got to look at the kids and call them, and accept them as equals. She's gonna come to events, so we got to accept her as an equal. So what do you think all the other blacks are gonna think? They're gonna start getting ideas. Nah, we're
hmm
not having that.
Yep.
So their solution was we're gonna kill y'all. And like that like that rap song said, it's like, and if you roll with him, we gonna mess you up too. Well, they're gonna kill his brothers too. So his and I guess it makes sense because you come in to kill my brother, I'm not gonna just let you do it. So they're like, well, we got to take all of y'all out. So the brothers fled. So 2 of them went to Trinidad, 3 of them went to West Africa, and they knew nothing about West Africa.
Yeah.
Remember, they went from Ireland to the Caribbean. They're like, we're going to West Africa. I don't know nothing about West Africa.
Right.
The woman I'm marrying doesn't know anything about West Africa. She doesn't know there's a lot of black people there. So they picked 3 separate countries: Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Ghana. And they said, we'll all go each one of us will go to this different country. Whoever does the best, send us a letter. We'll join you there, and we'll keep on building, right? And all 3 of them ended up doing equally well. And so to this day, I have relatives in Ghana. My father's actually met the ones from Ghana, Sierra Leone, and of course, where I was born in Liberia. So, like I said, 2 awesome love stories. People who decided because of love, they're going to do the difficult thing. And as a result, I exist. So knowing that, and I've known that for a very long time, when I was born in 1973 on Old Road at Cooper's Clinic in Monrovia, Liberia, there was already some pressure on me to kind of like not just exist. It's like my grandfather, when I was 16, he said, you need to be looking around at what you can do to contribute to society. And he meant Liberian society, but in general, he's like, how are you going to take, at some point, you're going to you need to prepare yourself to take care of your mother at some point. How are you going to do that? Based upon what you're doing today, are you going to be able to take care of your mom one day? Are you going to be, you know what I mean? And so that pressure was always there. My family was always like, you need to do something. And to be fair, they all had the pressure. So my mom was on TV in Liberia. She was like, and my dad was on radio, and then he ended up assisting the president of Liberia, to the point where people knew him. He worked for BBC. He helped set up the TV network in Israel back in the 60s. So when they got married, their wedding was like televised, okay, in Liberia. So imagine you going down the street and people see you and they say, oh, you're Amadili Bright's son. You're Milk Greaves' son, right? So there's always like that. My entire life, even the people say, oh, you're just like your father.
Yeah.
You look just like your father, you know, you're this and that. And so it was just like, that was always on me. And then in 1980, the military took over the government. And at the same time, my mother and I both gave our lives to the Lord. And my mother decided she wanted to change professions. She wanted to become a teacher. And she wanted to teach at specifically Christian school. So she had to go to Bible. She had gone to Howard. So she's like, well, I need to go to Bible school because what I learned at Howard to prepare me to become a journalist is going to help me for this. It does, but it doesn't. So she and my dad were divorced. So the 2 of us came to America, left everybody we knew behind. We actually came over the day I turned 7. We got on a plane and flew over here. And we come over, and and so we landed in Maryland, and that's where I started my life in America, in Maryland. When my mom was in school, I was in school. I didn't understand the food. I didn't understand most of the customs. I didn't realize snow was cold.
Yeah.
Because I had seen it. They had it on the mountains in Liberia, but I didn't know about going up there.
Right.
I literally didn't know it was cold.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's kind of like some of the things that I say, some of the viewpoints I have about the world are affected by the expectations that were on me and the challenges that were put in place in front of me in order to hone me into what I am today, like a knife.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And it does make sense, even though I didn't know the backside of that story, because most people that come from especially when we talk about being from the African, diaspora or whatever, like there's a lot of pressure to succeed and to do great things. It's like, you're over here, you're going to win. You better win because there's just that natural pressure. You know what I'm saying? So that's cool though. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't have that, and I wish I did. My grandmother was not like like she was a hustler, but she wasn't like a succeed by all costs. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, so it's like, I think I developed that because I always wanted to have my own money and do my own things and, and wanted nice things. But it's like, that to set the bar, and it's like, no, even when you don't want to, you're going to. You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
have that. So anytime I hear people talk about that, there is a level of exhaustion because
Mhm.
I think there's a pressure to be perfect in a sense,
Oh God.
and yeah, so I get it, but it's like, it's that thing, man, where it's like, oh, I had two parents, and then somebody didn't. I didn't have two parents, and then they're like, yeah, man, but you're so driven, and it's like, yeah, but I kind of wish I would have had two parents. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
I get the balance of both sides, but
yeah. But here's the thing,
okay.
man. So I knew who my dad was and all that. But my parents got divorced when I was 2, and I didn't really see my
Mm,
dad. So when we came to the States, I'm watching all these kids. Man, we had a Christian school, so a lot of the kids were from 2 parent homes. We go to events,
mm-hmm.
the mom and the dad are there. I win a spelling bee or whatever, any of the little academic things you win when I was growing up, and like I'm seeing all the other awardees, and both their parents are there, and it's just my mom. Like the youth pastor at our church taught me how to tie my a tie for the first time. It's
Yeah.
funny because he wrote a diagram out. He's like, because he didn't have a whole ton of time, and obviously it's not like he's in the house with us, so I needed to know how to tie a tie. I don't know what it was, but I couldn't wear a clip on. I started out with the clip on life, and it's like you couldn't wear a clip on anymore, so I had to be able to tie a tie. He
Yeah.
literally drew out on a piece of paper step one and drew diagrams how to do it, and to this day, that's how I tie my tie.
That's
Right?
funny.
I had a turtle. The turtle fell off our second floor balcony, and I'm like devastated because I'm like, oh, I like animals, right? And I don't know what to do. My mom didn't know what to do. So another pastor was like, he said, well, just bring the turtle. I literally took the turtle to church here, and he took some tape and he said, oh, it should be fine. He checked it out. I don't even know if he actually was doing anything. He was just like, the point is, I didn't have a dad there. So it's like
Yeah.
and my mom wasn't really dating like that. I mean, occasionally she would have people that, she would go out with, but for the most part, she's focusing on school, focusing on me. And
Yeah.
so it's like, who was the man in my life that would say, hey, this is how to be a man? More importantly,
Yeah.
until I went to stay with my dad for the first time when I was 12. And it's because his mom was there. And she wanted to see me, so I go spend some time with her. And
Yeah.
so by default, I'm there with him too. But that was the first extended period of time I actually spent around him. And it wasn't and then I went to actually live with him when I graduated from high school when I was 16, went to live with him and started school, right, college. But it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't until I was almost 30 years old, maybe I was 30, when he said, you're a man. He mentioned in conversation, you're a man. I'm proud of the man you've become.
Yeah.
Prior to that, he never said he's a man. I was a man, right? And the reason that's important is there are so many young men, males, who are looking for an indicator that they are a man. And so they look for it in women. Okay, so if I get like the number of girls I'm with, I'm a
Yes.
man, right? The fact that I'm not a virgin, I'm a man. Um,
Right.
Maybe my prowess in the gym or on the sports field, I'm a man,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, none of those things can tell you that can make you a man, and we don't really have rites of passage in America. We have some, so I guess things that could be used as an acceptable substitute, and I've done a fair amount of them.
Right.
I joined a fraternity in college. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. I joined the Marine Corps after college. So you say that graduating boot camp is a rite of passage, but there's nothing that tells males in our culture that you're a man now. And so as a result, you see a lot of boys with mustaches and beards because they don't
Mm-hmm.
know that they're a man. They're still a mama's boy. They don't know that, hey, you're a man now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that was something that really shaped me because started trying to figure out what a man is. And I did a lot. I like reading, so I spent a lot of time reading and like, okay, well, it's this, and just kind of cookie cuttering my idea of what a man is from the things that I encountered and I saw both from the standpoint of the positive, like, oh, a man does that, or the negative, a man does not do that,
Yeah.
based on what I see. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. That's good, man. Man, that's listen, man. That is good because there's a lot of parallels in not having that male figure, and in my case, not having a successful relationship with a male figure for a majority of my life. There were people who would come in and out, but it would always be some type of weird friction or tension, or and then they would disappear, or it would be an issue. So I can relate to that a lot, trying to make sense of what does this mean. Like, even as far as like maybe 4 to 5 months ago, like sitting down, like, what does it mean to be a man to me? You know what I'm saying? And having children already, and experiencing life, and marriage, and all these things, man. It could definitely, and it's something that culture, or sometimes even women, you won't get the grace to figure out. So you gotta just do it and keep going,
yeah,
and hopefully it starts to make sense, and you don't like tear down relationships and destroy yourself in some ways trying to prove something to somebody, or being something that you don't necessarily want to be or know how to be. So definitely interesting. So that was a lot of meat on the bone for that. So what I want you to do now is introduce me to how garage gym life came about, and how you now skip ahead and you have the family, you have all of those things, and how you make all of them work and balance themselves out.
okay. So garage gym, like, I've trained in a home gym since 2001. So
Okay.
most people who've been in a training in their house, lifting weights in their house, have been doing it for a short period of time. Either it's like the pandemic, or even some, maybe 5, 10 years or whatever. They got into working out, found out they didn't have time, or they couldn't afford the fee to go to a CrossFit box, and they got a home gym. I've been doing it for over 20 years. And so that's the thing that I knew the most about when I decided I wanted to go back to writing again. I want to start
Mm-hmm.
writing again. And I did made that decision when I was in Iraq, because I was working at an insurance company, and my reserve unit, Marine Corps Reserve unit, got activated to go to support Operation Phantom Fury, which was the siege of Fallujah. We took Fallujah. So while there, I mean, and it was a busy time, but there also, even at the busiest of times, is downtime in a combat zone. And I was just thinking, I remember vividly, man, rockets had just flown over our position and impacted while we're shooting. We're shooting this way, and rockets went this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had to keep shooting. So artillery unit, we're supporting somebody who can't even see, which is a surreal moment, because they call for fire support because they're pinned down. So we're shooting to help them out, help keep them alive. And rockets landed on us coming from a different direction from people who probably didn't even know what we were doing, right?
Wow.
And we couldn't turn and shoot back at them because we're engaged in saving these people's lives. So
Task
we
at
had to
hand.
depend, yeah. So we had to depend on another unit to come in and do fire support of us. So anyway, after all that madness, it all calms down. I said, man, you know what? I would rather do this every day than go back to that cubicle at the insurance company. Well, I got to
Wow.
eat. What am I going to do? Family got to eat. So I started looking around for something, and I said, well, I'm going to go back to writing. And I was like, well, until I get my name out there, writing's not going to pay the bills. But I need something to allow me time to write, because the insurance company took a lot of my time.
Mm-hmm.
So I took a pay cut, a $20,000 a year pay cut. At the time, I was making 40,000, went from 40 to 20. Had my wife and I have 5 kids, 4 boys. Okay, our youngest boy was a baby at the time, and so I took a pay cut. She went back to work to help make up the difference in our finances, and it just started the grind, man. And it's like, well, what are you gonna write about? And the thing I knew the most about was the home gym stuff, and it's just morphed from there into, people don't read as much, they don't read blogs as much. Instead, they're more into consuming content through podcasts and through YouTube. YouTube is where you go if you want
Mm-hmm.
to learn something, and
Right.
because it is what I do is essentially edutainment. Shout out KRS One. It's essentially edutainment. Um, YouTube just seemed the place that made the most sense. And then I'm also on Instagram, and Instagram is For me, honestly, I'd stop doing it tomorrow if I could. But it's the thing that people see and they feel like it gives you a little bit of legitimacy, so they know that you're not like some fly by night. They're like, oh, whoa, he's got Instagram, all right, and they see followers I have and all that. Like, oh, okay, cool. So it's a door opener. Like if I send out a
Mm-hmm.
thing and say, hey, I want to do an interview with you or whatever, if they see my Instagram, a lot of times they'll actually respond. Especially since I'm usually reaching out to people on Instagram.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's how I got the two of the legs of the tripod, and then we started a Discord so that we could kind of start building community. I just started that, so we kind of build community with people. So I'm
Yeah.
spending time talking to people from around the world who have home gyms, who have problems similar to what I've faced, or who might have already faced a problem that I may face down the road. And I serve there more as a curator, creating an environment for people to be able to have impactful conversations that'll help them.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes a lot of time. The YouTube thing takes a lot of time because all my content is original content on YouTube. So I'm not able to say this event happened and I'm just gonna uh, respond to the event, for example. Um, and it's non-scripted. So I don't have the
Yeah.
luxury of having like, some channels they have like a writer's room and they'll write their scripts or whatever and they do that. So my stuff is non-scripted and it's largely dependent on other people. I'm reaching out to interview you. Which means cultivating that relationship. I am coming to view. I'm either coming in person or setting up a Zoom to come look at your home gym to show the tour of it, so that other people can get ideas if they set up their workout space.
Yeah.
Um, Again, that all takes time. We set up a little studio here, office in my house, and that's where I am right now. My kids were part of setting it up. I got like their artwork up on the wall, even though it doesn't show on camera. Their
Yeah.
artwork is on the wall like this. I'm looking right now at a painting my son did of our dog. There's another school project from my daughter, something that my son, my another son made for me. And just so like I have reminders, not just of accomplishments, but of what I'm doing it for,
Right.
right? And that's kind
Right.
of how it all fits in because, like I said, everything I just told you to make this thing work requires significant amounts of time. Right? And then to add to that, because Garage Gym Life doesn't pay all of our bills, I mean, it draws income, but it doesn't pay all of our bills yet. I still have a full time job, and so to have the time to do it, I work night shift. So I'm working 12-hour night shifts, so that I
Mm.
only have to work. It's alternating. I'll work 3 days one week, 4 days the next week, but it's 12-hour night shifts. And so my wife laughs because she says I'm on Bangladesh time because I'm communicating with people. I'm able to talk to people from around the world. If people are up just kind of like browsing the internet or whatever, but I'm wide awake because I'm at work, so I can kind of like check it. Okay, cool, and then go back to work or something like that. Um, I watch a lot of your stuff when I'm at work. I have it on just as background because I'm by myself, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's good because it gives me time to think and unpack stuff. And then when I come home, though, I got to be present.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know what I mean? So I'm doing all my garage and life stuff in my 3 days off, trying to be present and still at the same time juggle everything else too. Um,
Yeah.
I don't want to go on too long, but it's probably too late for that. But the the so I have to work out. Okay,
Yes.
you can't have a fitness company and not work out. I guess you could, but I don't think it's a good idea. That's not how you do it. Right? So you
Right.
have to
It's a
work
little
out.
difficult for men versus women. I'll say that.
Right? It's like, hey man, you kind of got to be in shape, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm actually coming back from a car accident I had 2 years ago. I rolled over 5 times, so I'm trying to build back up, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm doing that, and so when I wake up, I usually get about 7 hours of sleep during my work week. 7 hours of sleep. I got to get up. I got an hour when I wake up to do any paperwork, check emails, whatever, talk to my daughter, interact with my wife, and then I have an hour to work out, and then I got to get on the road and go.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. So I have to try to cram being a dad into an hour, 3 days, 3 to 4 days a week, and
Yeah.
then I try to make up for it when I'm
Yeah.
off. So normally, so like I told you, we do this interview early in the morning because in the afternoon we're gonna go do family stuff. We're gonna do our
Right.
thing. You know, it's just a balance in that, man. And like I said, my wife and I have
Yeah.
been together over 20 years, so we've balanced things out. There are times when she has to work late. She works from home, so she has to work late or whatever. Boom, and we always just say, hey, like Wonder Twins is why there's two of us. I got it. You go do your thing, right? But it makes the moments. You gotta say, okay, it makes the moments precious. You
Yeah,
know.
it's interesting, man, because when you go back to the inception of the story about y'all, those are things that you would like to pray that stay consistent. That because the woman that you grow in love, or even the man for women that you grow in love and build this strong bond to, you don't know how that's going to change when you introduce children, or when you introduce work, or you know what I'm saying, or
Yeah.
new interests. And I think the beauty of finding that person that's like, and people have different ideas about it, but I think people do have a person, you know what I'm saying, where it's like, you're not perfect, but you're for me.
Yeah.
Where we connect is not just on a physical level. It's all things encompassing, and so it can help keep you up when
Yeah.
you are, as a man, are trying to figure out how to be a man and how to bring home the money and how to make sure that you're spending time with your kids, and also doing the extracurricular activities. What are your wife's love languages?
Oh,
You're always wanting to be all things, and sometimes you just simply can't do it because we're human and there's not enough time in the day. How have you found a system to structure it? Because I know you said, well, I have an hour, because I think there has to be a certain level of discipline even in saying, yeah, I could do X, Y, and Z, but I'm going to do this. So has it been a struggle in staying disciplined and when that time is crunched, and what has been the most successful tool in making sure that your time is allotted properly and executed properly?
so I can credit the Marine Corps for this, for the most part, for the time management thing, because one of the Marine Corps phrases is every day you got to figure out a way to stuff 10 pounds of things into a 5 pound bag, and
Mm,
that's just you just learn a time management, right?
yeah.
But I make use of the tools that are available to me. So I put stuff on my calendar. If somebody says, "Hey, I want to talk to you such and such time," okay, it goes on my calendar. So I can just pop open my calendar and say, all right. So today we're supposed to be in Wilmington, North Carolina. All right. Well, that means I'm probably already in Wilmington because the day before it said drive to Wilmington, that
All
kind of thing,
right.
right? And like a lot of times people don't think about that. I'll remember, and we don't, because life gets in the way, and we're a very distracted culture, because we have constant things. Like it's natural to watch TV and be on your phone at the same time. So now you're getting two bits of stimulation, and people, it's also natural for people to talk to you if you're
Yes.
watching something with them. So now that's a third bit of stimulation. How can you possibly focus on all those things? I don't care about anybody says about time management. It's not about multitasking. It's not possible to actually focus on multiple things at once because, for one thing, that is that goes against the definition of the word focus. So you can't focus on multiple things at once. Now, if you're very good, you're able to focus sequentially on each thing quickly, and there's not a lot of downtime between the things. I credit that for the fact that I used to fight, because in a fight things change, right? And so you have to be able to adapt to the things that just
What kind
change.
of fighting? We talking about just street fighting? We talking about
I did
MMA?
some of
What
that.
we?
I did some of that too, but I got the silver medal at nationals in International Kickboxing Federation in 2001, and I was a regional champion the year before and the year after. Um,
Okay.
I trained some grappling and whatnot for a while too.
Okay.
So it's funny that you say that because my wife and I met. I was a doorman at a club, but we didn't remember that's how we knew each other, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
leads to like one of the funny stories about how we actually met. But I apparently carded her, but we didn't figure that out till later, much later. And
Right.
so when I met her, a mutual friend, introduced us, and I thought he was trying to get with her, and he's like, hey John, this is Naomi. Isn't she pretty? And I looked at her, I said, oh yeah. I said, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. And she sees me and she said, puts her hand on my, and she knows I'm familiar. She puts her hand on my arm and says, "Did you go to Southern?" And I'm like, "That's a lie. I've seen all these club girls before. She just like them." And I was like, "No." And I turned around, and walked away, right? Because to me that was disrespectful. My man's trying to talk to you, right? And I'm like, how? I mean, how? Because by that, I'm like, nah, man. I'm
But what if
focused.
she's just not interested in him? You know what I'm saying? It's
That
still
makes
disrespectful.
Yeah, because he's standing right there. He's the one that introduced us.
I don't
He
know,
literally,
John.
they had just finished dancing. They
Okay.
just finished
Okay, I get
dancing,
it.
and then I come up, I walk up on them. I just say, "Hey, man," I was just riding home, so I just walk up and say, "Hey, I
Yeah.
just want to let you know I'm here," because I'm not. Okay, he was drunk, right? And he
Okay,
called
got
me.
it, got
He
it.
said, "Hey, man, can you come get me?" I said, "Yeah, I come get you." So I get up, I go there, and I was a little jaded with the club scene because I had been a bouncer for so long. I'd been
Yes.
a doorman.
Yeah, I get
I
it.
ain't,
I
I ain't
get
trying to
it.
do that. So I get there and I see them dancing. They finish dancing. I walk up and I'm not blowing up his spot. I just say, "Hey, I'm over here. I'm gonna be talking to Daniel, right?" And I walk over. My intention is to go talk to our dude Daniel that we both knew who was one of the bouncers. Hey, man, how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Everything like that. Rest in peace, Daniel. But anyway, so I was like that, and so he stopped me and said, "Oh, hey, this is Naomi. Isn't she pretty?" So I'm thinking like this is like like it's just kind of like part of his segue
Yeah.
into getting something
Yeah.
accomplished.
He trying to
And
butter her up.
yeah, I said, but I can't go too far with it. I said, "Oh yeah, hey, how you doing?" I say, "Yeah, I see it. She is. How you doing? My name's John." And she's like, she doesn't say, "Oh hey, how you doing?" She looks at me, she puts a hand on my arm, and she says, "Did you go to Southern?" And I'm like, good and dang well I ain't go no damn Southern. I ain't go no
I'm not
Southern
doing this
University.
with you, John.
That's what went through my head. I'm like,
You know good at that. That is funny.
so
Oh
I said,
man.
so I just looked at her. I'm like, okay, so you one of those. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was just
yeah.
like, I said, I ain't got time for you. I was just like, no. And I just was like, I'll be over there. And I walked away. And she's like I said, my wife is
Okay.
good looking, right? So she's like,
Who you think he is?
yeah. So then I'm taking my man home and we're talking and he said, yeah. And he tells me, I don't even know how we got on the topic, but it was basically like, um, it wasn't like that. I literally just, her friend got us, she hadn't been out in a while, and her friend told me that, hey, come dance with my friend. I go and dance with her. He said, so I really was just introducing you to her. It wasn't anything like that. I said, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm in the wrong. And then
Yeah, yeah.
like about a month or so later, it was the night of the Marine Corps ball. I go out after the ball. I still got my blues on, which is related to somebody else completely. He was like, "Nah, man." I said, "I'm ready to go home and go to sleep. I just told you I'm not into club scene." He said, "No, no, no, no. We got to go out. This is our night." I'm like, basically, you want me to get you in the club, right? Okay, let's go. So I go there. I meet him there, and we walk in. And I didn't go. I mean, at the time, I knew all the bouncers in Chattanooga, so I'm like, I ain't gonna pay to get in. Walk up, I say, "Hey, how y'all doing?" I said, "This my man. He's obviously with me. We dress the same." So like, yeah, y'all can go in. We walk in. I see my wife. And I stopped her. I said, "Hey, remember me?" And she looked at me. She said, "No." And she's gonna walk off, right? She's
Give
like,
it back to
"No."
him, wife.
And I
Give it
said,
back to
"I
him.
said, no, 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 no. I said, I'm sorry. First of all, I apologize. This is the reason why I was at like that. My friend explained, and I was wrong. Okay, I apologize. You want to dance?" And she said no, but I also know we were dancing. So there you go.
You
So
know what I'm saying? Hey, don't they always got
whatever.
a funny little remembrance, don't they?
Yeah, I'm
It's
like
like
whatever.
I had told you, girl, we danced 4 songs. Stop playing with
Yeah,
me.
okay, whatever, right? What I kidnap you? Yeah. All the way to the dance
Right.
floor.
I had you at gunpoint. It's
Yeah,
under my jacket. You go
send the
dance.
ransom to the dance floor, whatever, man. So, but anyway, yeah. So it was just like it was that sort of thing. So, but to go back to what you were saying about being able to just go from thing to thing, it's like circumstances change. You got to be able to adapt. And
Yes.
even one thing I don't know is just a personality trait is I don't get emotionally attached to being right. If you convince me that you're right, I'm willing to switch and say, oh, you know what? I was wrong. So, exhibit
Mm,
A, my friend told me the situation was not what I thought. I would tell
yeah.
my wife immediately. I don't have to be, I'm emotionally secure enough to
Yeah.
not have to be right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, I can
That's
say, and
good.
so
Yeah.
that was something that I feel like she was attracted to. And I'm attracted to that in
Absolutely.
her. So, even like if we get into a disagreement, we're able to, I kid you not, we're able to argue. One of us says something funny, we laugh and go back to the argument, and then we're done with the argument when we're done with the argument. Like, okay, we're done, whatever.
You
Because it's
talk
not
about
like,
language, John. I ain't gonna
because
lie
it's
to you. You
not,
talk
because
about language, man.
I'm saying it's not like so it's not like, so when we argue, one of the rules we set up early on, we had marriage counseling and everything, right? Because I came back from a war zone and I needed to make adjustments mentally and emotionally. But one of the ground rules is when you're arguing about a thing, you're disagreeing about how the other person handled that issue. You're not arguing. You don't hate the person.
Yes.
So I can say, I love you. So in fact, we usually start like this. Hey, I love you. I need you to not leave the dishes in the sink. That bothers me. It means basically you're just leaving me extra work to do and you already know how busy we both are. That's not fair to me. I don't like that. Simple. Right?
Yeah.
Who gonna get offended about that? I mean, if you get offended about it, you just want to be
unless
mad.
unless you just got your own. Yeah, man.
All right. How about another one? Because I understand that my wife is into, like, she talks softly. She feels like she's yelling. She's not. She feels like she's yelling though, and so sometimes she'll talk more softly. So one of the things that does is, because she speaks softly, it makes you lean into her to hear her. But that works because now you got to give her your full attention. So it helps her well as a manager. It helped her well when she was doing sales. You got to give her your attention when she's talking.
Yeah.
Right. And I say it doesn't hurt if she's good looking. So
you're right.
But even women are like, okay, you lean in, and she'll do like the physical touch to like reinforce, like, hey, you've got my attention. So if I see her doing the physical touch with some other dude, right? They're talking about, I don't care if they're talking about the Braves game, right? For some reason, we neither one's like baseball, but let's say that's what popped in my head. So they talk about the Braves game, right? She's like, I hate baseball, and she touches his hand or his arm. I don't like that.
Yeah,
because that's how you told me. That's how you try to convince me I went to a school I never went to, right? So for me, it's like I don't own. And people say, well, they don't own your body, and I don't believe that, because in the Bible it says biblically,
yes,
my body is hers,
and
her body is mine.
Yeah.
So I don't have the right to do things with her body that would that would reflect negatively on her or make her uncomfortable. Which goes back to garage gym life. I talk to a lot of women who are in shape. I mean, I talk to dudes who are in shape too, but she don't care about that. Right. So it's like I talk to a lot of women who are in shape. I have to build rapport with them in order to do the interviews. But I have her come in and like watch the recording. That's one reason I don't do a lot of live interviews. She'll come in and we sit down, we watch the recording. If there's something that I don't feel comfortable, in the moment it was cool, but maybe how's that gonna look? I know what I intended. I don't know what she intended, but I know how it sounded.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I just need your opinion. What is this? Should I cut this out? And so I make her a part of it. When we go to do a live stream because we live stream some events, like sporting events and things like that, she goes with me. She'll help set up the cameras. We do that. We actually do live streams for our church every Sunday. So we work together a fair amount. Even my daughter helps set up cameras and stuff like that now. So at 7 years old, because I don't want them to feel like this is daddy's thing that he goes and does. Instead, this is daddy's thing that he's building for us. Because the plan is, when I retire from my current job, I can do this full time, and I can give it over to any one of my kids who wants it, and they can run with it, and I can be a consultant to them.
Yes.
Right? Well, why would they ever want to be involved in something that takes me away from them that they feel is a competitor? I don't want them to feel it. My wife has no competition. As far as I'm concerned, I've told very specifically, and if a man's watching this, I'm gonna tell you right now, I got no problem picking up women. Okay, I was a member. I'm not trying to whatever, but I was a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. That's like one of the things you're known for. I didn't join Kappa Alpha Psi because I wanted help. Okay, I was like, there's an obvious fit.
I'm a chosen few.
I'm like, hey, and so I don't have a problem with that. But what I can tell you is, I didn't meet the person that God has set aside for me until He could trust me with her and her feelings. He could trust me not to hurt His daughter.
That's good.
Right?
Oh man,
so
you talking, Doc.
I set aside my experiments because that's all they were. That's all a date is, right? Is an experiment. I bet you this will probably work out. Let's go find out. It's an experiment. Okay, I set aside all
Yeah.
my thought experiments, and I just said, God, send me the woman that I want. And I was like specific.
Hmm.
Uh, she got to have pretty feet. She got to be bow-legged. I kind of like Puerto Rican women, so let's make her Puerto Rican. But I like slanted eyes, slanted eyes. And you know what? Freckles are kind of cute. I like freckles. And I
Yeah.
want her to be intelligent. I want her to be. I want her to enjoy cooking. I want her to get along well with. I just told you I'm West African, so she's got to be able to deal with West African culture. She's got to be able
Yeah.
to deal with the differences, right? Cool, man. Do you know that about 6, 7 years after we got married, I was just looking at my wife. I mean, I do that sometimes. I was just looking at her.
Every day I did.
Well, I mean, like like not like just talking, but I mean, like she was just sitting there. She was reading a
And
book
you
or something like that.
just
And I was just kind of looking
yeah.
at her, right? And I said, "You got freckles." She
Yeah.
said, "Yeah." But you're Puerto Rican with slanted eyes. I said, "You got freckles." I already knew she was bow-legged when I met her. I knew she had
Yeah.
pretty feet. Not long after I met her, and I'm like, but 7 years after we got married, I'm looking at her. I said, "You got slanted eyes. You got freckles." Dang. I
Yeah.
literally exactly what I asked for.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a mix like that? Bow-legged, slanted eyes, Hispanic, freckles. That's not the sort of thing. Whatever,
God
man.
is intentional, man.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, he
So
don't play.
the Bible says, "You ask not, therefore you have not,"
Yeah.
and you wonder why you. Instead, what we do is we try to just go find somebody who is either subconsciously or consciously reminds us of our mother. And then we treat her the way, especially if we grew up like I did and
Yes.
like you did without a dad around, we treat her like our dad did. And we wonder
Yes.
why it doesn't go right.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes,
Why
sir.
would
See,
you
now we
why
get
would God, if
deep.
God is real, and I believe he is, if he's real, why would he ever allow you within 1,000 yards of the
Yeah.
person who you want? Like
Yeah.
you want Beyonce, but you're acting like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
man, I can't. All I ever see is these chicken heads. I'm like, I mean, how you act?
Yeah. That's at the level that you're currently at, sir. Yeah.
And what
That's
do people?
good, man.
Go ahead.
Listen. Let me get my stuff off real quick, man.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm serious because I'm 35.
Okay.
I've lived a lot of life. I've never been like this crazy promiscuous man in my life because I've also been a man of faith for a very long time, but it doesn't mean I've always made the best decisions,
Yeah.
and especially when it comes to relationships. And I'm not even just condensing it down to romantic, but that's a big part of my life. I've probably been married for more of my adult life than I was single,
Okay.
and what you're describing in your wife and y'all's relationship and how everything has kind of evolved is what I've always wanted. But I don't think I was ever the man that I needed to be able to receive and cultivate that type of relationship from that type of woman. And so it what it tells me is that number one, it's possible. It's not just a pie in the
100%.
sky thing, and that a man, it kind of like what I was saying earlier about being able to know where you're at. I think you'll be able to make the biggest strides as a man when you're able to be real with yourself about,
Yeah.
listen, you you need counseling. You need to go sit down and talk to God. Like you need to be on time. All these little small details that equal up to this whole of a man. Shout out to Mind of a Man. It is what's necessary because I've always been a thinker. I've always loved passionately and deeply, but given to the wrong vessel, put inside of the wrong vessel, that could be chaos. That
Yeah.
could be wreckage.
Oh yeah.
And so that's just some of the things that I've learned, man, to be where I'm at now, and to just even and to be honest on my own podcast, to be in a very rough place in life right now where things aren't perfect, but I'm very set on what God has showed me, who He says I am, and where I know He's ultimately taking me. So it's very encouraging to hear that from you, and I'm very happy to know that you found that you and that you did the work, you know, and you know that you're where you're at, man. It's a really great story and very eye opening thing, you know. So yeah, super cool, man.
It's just funny because it's like all the cliches are cliches because they're true. So when they
Right.
say, okay, somebody is going to treat your wife the way that she's supposed to be treated. Now you decide if that person's going to be you,
Gonna
or
be
she's going to have to,
you
or it's going to be some other dude, or is it Jerome?
or the other John.
You know what I mean? Yeah, because that's the way that she's going to respond. A
Yeah.
relationship is like a plant, right? The grass isn't
Yeah.
greener, so because we say that, it's like the grass is always greener on the other side. No, the grass is greener where you water it and feed it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
everybody says they want an apple tree, but they plant oranges
Yeah.
and they give it the care and feeding that you would give a cactus.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, hey,
Yeah.
this ain't working
That thing
out.
finna come out looking warped and wompy jaw.
I'm saying it's correct. Like, think about it. If you plant oranges and everybody around you plants oranges and they feed and they water oranges, and somebody tells you about apple trees, but all you've ever seen are oranges, you're gonna think apple trees don't exist.
hmm
But they
Or
do.
think everything is a one size fits all.
Here's another thing. You know, as we continue on horticultural talk, uh, apples
Horticultural talk.
thrive in a different environment than oranges do. So maybe you plant apple trees, but the environment is only suited to grow oranges. That apple tree is not going to thrive. And so you're
Yeah.
like, man, I even planted the apple tree like you said. Right.
Right. Yeah.
But the
Where did you put
environment,
it?
yeah, where did you
Yeah.
put it?
Did
What
you
did
put
you
it in
allow
Florida? Did
around
you
it?
put it in Kansas?
Yeah,
Yeah.
apple trees need the
Yeah.
cold to be at their best. So why?
Environment is everything.
What environment did you put this relationship that you want to cultivate? Right? And I'll just make it 100% relatable. And what I mean by environment is if you and all your friends have had bad, successful women, and you all come from homes where it's broken relationships, and who do you go to for advice typically? These people with the same 5 minutes of hell
Yeah.
life experience that you've got. So of course their advice is gonna be broken.
Yeah.
You need to find somebody who's done it because they're the ones that'll tell you, hey, no, man, you can't plant an apple tree in that. You gotta first of all take
Yeah.
these apple tree, take the seed, this apple seed, right? You're gonna need to put it in this environment. This is the kind of soil it needs. This is how often you need to water it. This is the environment. This is the temperature you need to have it in.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure that you keep all these other invasive plants away from it because you got to protect your apple tree
Yeah.
if you want the apple tree to flourish and thrive. So one of the things we did is we don't take advice. So I'll be 50 this year. We don't take advice from people who haven't been married at least as long as we have. Because what would
Mm.
they know?
Right. Yeah.
People come to me with advice about raising kids. I got my oldest son is the age of some of the people who tried to give me advice. I mean, I got a kid your age,
Yeah.
right? In fact, I got a granddaughter from the kid who's your age, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I know everything. I'm just saying you might be able to tell me one little thing because I truly believe even if you're a black belt, you can learn from the white belts because they don't know any
Right.
better. They haven't had their patterns established yet. But I'm just saying, as a general rule, to quote the current football coach of my favorite team, don't draw me a map to somewhere if you haven't been there. How you gonna tell me how to do something that you've never done yourself?
Yeah.
That's just it's unrealistic for me to even expect that of you. It's
Yeah.
not even fair to my friends to go to them and ask them for advice if they haven't already done this because they don't know. They're gonna just be speculating, and then when it doesn't work, we're both gonna be like, oh, you know, it didn't work. It's your
Yeah.
fault, or we're not gonna say it's the friend's fault. We're gonna say it's the relationships just don't work. Back to there's no such thing as apple trees.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. Okay. So, man, this is listen. I feel like we could actually go for a whole nother little hour even, man, because it's a lot. It's just a lot.
I'll
Because
come
this
back.
is,
I'll come back. I promise. I'll come back.
yeah, for sure. This is like, man, this is my strong suit. This, or my wheelhouse rather. I don't like to talk like I'm a. When it comes to relationships or life, even, it's not that I feel like I have the answers, but I do. You can't negate experiences. It's the best teacher in life, and so I love getting into these talks, especially from people who have a different perspective and have done certain things, scale certain walls, man. So super cool. So the last thing that
And
we'll
it's
do,
better to get other people's experience.
yeah,
People always say
yeah,
experience is the best teacher. Yeah, but it hurts. So if possible,
yeah.
use somebody else's experience.
That's a great point because I'll tell people all the time. I grew up in my family. A lot of people did drugs in my family when I was a kid. And when I seen my auntie was missing teeth, I knew that drugs weren't the way for me. And
There
that
you
was a
go.
serious thing. You know what I'm
There you
saying?
go.
I'll say this last thing, and then I want you, after I get done giving this example, I want you to I'll tell you what I want you to do because I got to set it up, and then I want you to tell people where they can find you, and then we'll close it out.
Sure.
But it's so fitting with our conversation because I think about I bought a plant a couple months ago, and it was the most mind blowing thing for me ever because I've never been great at relationships, like in general,
Mm.
and the plant taught me about how to love something. As crazy
Oh
as that may
wow.
sound, because and I'll take you from the inception, right? So like my grandmother who raised me, and for those of you who watch First String Podcast, I almost lost it on Tuesday because it's like she passed when I was a freshman in college, the one who taught me everything about life, and it just, for whatever the reason, it's just been hitting me different here lately. But she had a green thumb, and she took care of plants, and the ivories would grow all over the place, and so I had been wanting to plant for a long time, and so I was going through a situation, and I went to Walmart to get some stuff, and I was like, you know what, I think I want to get a plant. And so here we go again, being intentional about things, right? So I set my mind that I wanted to get it, and then I did the action step of going. So now there's all these plants to choose from, and
Mm.
I'm literally strategically walking around looking at these plants. What do they look like? I'm reading the instructions. What do they require? Can I handle what they would need at this moment? You see what I'm saying? And so I'm
Wow.
like, okay. So then I'm like,
Wow.
okay, I see the Asian lily, and then I'm like, that's a lot of work for me at where I'm presently at. Maybe later I might come back for you, but I need something else. But then I also had something in mind already.
Mm-hmm.
So if I've set my heart and my mind on something, if God has revealed something to me, even, then I have a blueprint that I won't know until I see it. So now I'm like, okay. So then I find this golden pothos, and so I'm like, okay, this looks like an ivory. It has certain characteristics. Okay, what is the management? Because I'm like, I want to get two plants, but I know where I'm at right now. Let's start with one. Let me not kill one first. You see what I'm saying? And so I intentionally get it. I accept what it's gonna cost to maintain this plant. I purchased the plant. Okay, now I say, okay, I know that this plant's gonna probably need some stuff. I'd rather prepare myself ahead of time instead of getting in the moment and then can't do it. So
Right.
then I go get a sprayer, to spray water on the plant. I go get some tweezers to kind of till it and keep it. And then I get some neem oil, to
Mm.
kill things that may come against it, right?
Right.
So then I name it,
Mm.
right? So that's like the ultimate. It's like, and then I named it after my grandmother, her name was Dorothy,
Oh,
but
nice.
I name it or whatever. And so then I bring it home, and then I start surveying it. I start looking at every little detail. I see where something is starting to bud. I start doing things actually that I probably shouldn't do, but it's a filling out process. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, man, a mind blowing experience, man. And I started seeing how, as I was intentional about paying attention to it, playing music, talking to it, touching it,
Right.
it did something for me, but then in return, I did something for the plant, and I watched this plant start growing. It was a little ragged, because it
Hmm.
probably wasn't being taken care of because it was amongst all the other plants. You see what I'm
Right,
saying?
right, right.
And so then I start seeing it just flourish, and now it's budding every day, and I'm like, man, this has been a mind blowing experience to me, man. And then if I miss a day where I didn't talk to her, or I didn't touch her, or I didn't do something, then it's like, okay, that it may have an adverse effect. So let me go back and make that right and be more intentional the next time. So
Hmm.
man, it's been super cool,
Right.
man. And I love it. You know what I'm saying? So
So are you
hopefully,
translating those lessons to the relationship you're trying to cultivate?
yes,
That's the
yes,
challenge.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, man. And so that's what I'm currently in the process of doing. But then it also, I think it still comes down to understanding that, knowing what that plant needs based off of doing the work beforehand.
Right.
Because I may do that same approach for another plant, and it may have the complete
Right. It's a
opposite
love language
effect.
thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so that's one of the things that I've learned, man. So super cool. All right. So I like to set this up and say there may be somebody who is at the end of their rope. And
Mm.
let's presuppose that you were predestined for this moment to tell somebody something that could completely change the trajectory of their life and set them on the course. What would that be?
Don't believe the lie that you're hearing, that you may be telling yourself over and over that you can't do it and that it's impossible. If it were not possible, you would never have gotten the idea to do it, because the fact that it bothers you enough to think about doing the thing that you want to do means that that's part of your purpose. And the only thing that happens if you decide not to do it, if you decide to just quit, is you deprive the world of the gift that your purpose being fulfilled would have given it. And that's important because in turn, it will fulfill you. You will feel
Mm,
successful. Um, a lot of times we don't grow up thinking that we can do a thing because we're not as good as, because society tends to funnel us into certain pathways. But the
mm-hmm.
reality is that all of us don't fit in the cookie cutter pathways. You may not have a wicked jump shot, which means you're unlikely to make the NBA. But if you love the NBA to a certain point, you might end up doing something like my man does and be a content creator in terms of sports. You might end up being a reporter. You might end up training kids because you're not necessarily naturally gifted. You might end up being the coach that trains the next LeBron James or the next Michael Jordan. And
Yeah.
he's never going to forget you because you poured yourself into his life, and in doing so took him off the streets. All because you love basketball and you didn't quit your purpose. The world needs you. We
Yeah.
just don't know, and we may not even know what we need you for, just like we had no idea that we needed the airplane until the Wright brothers gave it to us.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Last thing, this is the get something off your chest. This may be one thing that you want to tell people, or this could be a issue that you've had, that you want to set the record straight right now. Like, it could be, it could be anything. Just a normal issue that you have with people, some disconnect, and miscommunication. But this is your let me say this, and I'm gonna leave it there moment.
I only get one thing.
Only one thing. That's it. So make it good.
All right, so I'm not going to talk about the Oxford comma and how I wish it would disappear. Instead, I'm going to say, uh, if you're a parent who's married, stop putting your kids first. At
Hmm.
some point, your children are going to grow up and leave the house, and you will be stuck with a spouse who you have put second your most of y'all's relationship. And nobody, man or woman, wants to feel like they're second place. So
Yeah.
when the kids get up and when the kids leave, you're gonna get on their nerves because you're gonna still be a helicopter parent coming over their house and
Yep.
washing their socks. You're gonna get on the nerves of whoever they end up being with because they can't get away from that mom or that dad.
Yep.
And your own marriage, your own relationship is going to die because
Yeah.
you are putting the person who's supposed to be your rib, your right hand, the person that you're supposed to be able to get back to back with and fight your way out of the club. You've been putting
Yeah.
them second this entire time because you feel like, oh well, the kids didn't ask to be here. Well, the gift you can give those kids is the gift of seeing a healthy, loving relationship where a man puts the woman he loves above all others, and she can't imagine putting anybody ahead of the man she loves.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, Doc. All right. So let the people know what your platform is, where they can reach you at, where they can contact you at, and then I'll close us out.
All right. So you can reach me if you're interested in anything to do with fitness or you just want to see some cool workout spaces that people have set up in their houses. You can find me on YouTube at Garage Gym Life Media. That's there on the screen. And if you hit me up on Instagram, it's Garage Gym Life. And I look forward to talking to you. Make sure if you do hit me up, let me know that you found me through this podcast. And so I'll know to give Ant a shout out and tell him thank you for exposing me to a new audience. And thank you for having me on here, man. It was a
For
great
sure.
conversation. It's not something I get to talk about a whole lot because it's
Right.
sort of outside my topic area, but it's the sort of thing that I think about a lot because I see how it
Yeah.
affects other people in our field,
Yes.
And so I think it's an important
That's what's
conversation.
important to me, man, is giving people an outlet to not just know about their business. You know what I'm saying? It's like, listen, let people get a little peek inside of the person, because I think it's hard sometimes. Like, imagine how many people never really think about the man that Jay-Z is, or
Yeah,
or Jeff Bezos, anybody. Like, it's just what they can do for you or what they have, and it's like, no, it's a person under there somewhere. Let's take a look at who that person is, and how it merges with what they do. Now we can get a greater picture. So, man, thank you guys once again for watching another episode of Cultivating Konversations, where we curate cultivating conversations for the culture. I want to thank my guest, John Greaves, for stopping by. And we're going to do something again, man, because it is necessary. So thank you once again. Remember, everybody's living, so please don't just live. Until next time. I mean, look, I'm saying my stuff all out of whack. Because I had a little message pop up. But anyway, everybody's just living. So please don't just live. Live elevated. Until next time, we love you. May the Lord keep you. We'll see you next week. Peace.